Hello guys, today we're going to talk about more practical history. Today's topic will be the efficiency of slavery. We'll mostly discuss slavery in America. So there's, talk about, getting rid of slavery for human rights purposes. Obviously, that in itself is a good enough argument. However, it's worth noting that doing bad things doesn't actually help you. So in the case of slavery itself was not actually a benefit, considering the alternatives. So for example, imagine you're a slave, okay? And you need to work. You have to work for your master. Much of what you cultivate ends up going to you to keep you alive, and then whatever's left ends up going to the master. It's usually a very small number. Like you basically get enough to cultivate yourself, plus, well, not cultivate, take care of yourself, plus a sixth more, and that sixth goes to the master. And that's, is that a lot? Well, the alternative is if you owned your own land and someone was paying you to cultivate it. Well, I guess maybe it wasn't necessarily your land, but you were being paid to cultivate it. Basically, you would gain enough to keep the land in place. So basically enough that if you had a slave, it would be enough to take care of him. Instead, you would use it to keep the land, keep working on the land. You'd use another amount equal to that for whatever you wanted to do, and plus you'd use another amount equal to that for to give to the person that was paying you to take care of their land, etc. So the person ends up getting 6 times more than what he would get from a slave. And of course you might think well, they're paying you and then you give them the produce or whatever. Well, the thing is, if you're a master and your slave gets sick, you have to take care of whatever bills are included in keeping the slave healthy. And you have to, because you spent a lot of money on the slave, and so you don't want to lose the slave. And you also have to take care of housing for the slave, which you wouldn't have to if you were employing someone. So the costs, they basically add up. Oh, and if you don't take care of your slaves, obviously it's going to be basically a huge place for diseases, and you don't want that either. The other thing is, if you're hiring someone to work on your land, they're going to have an incentive to work harder because they'll get to keep what they work, okay? You ever tried doing something you wanted to do, compare it to something you have to do? You're a lot more efficient at things you want to do. So, in essence, if you force someone to do something like slavery, they're not going to be as efficient as someone who actually gets to keep something from what he gets, because slaves, they weren't able to save anything. But if you're able to save what you produce, aka keep what you make, then it's you're going to want to work hard. That being said, I think, if I recall, northern states, or basically states that were on the border where the north side had slavery, the northern state had slavery, whereas the southern state, well, it's the other way around. The southern state had slavery and the northern didn't. Basically, the northern state would be doing a lot better in terms of how much land was being cultivated, because the people were cultivating land themselves. They actually wanted to succeed, whereas in the southern state you'd have slavery, and obviously slaves aren't going to really want to work hard. So not doing slavery is the efficient thing to do, and it's the capitalistic thing to do, and it's financially sound.